Welcome to a special episode of the Final Furlong podcast. This is for Racing Live on TalkSport 2. You can hear the show Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 1 p.m. on TalkSport 2. And my guest on the show today is the man who leads the Jockeys Championship by 14. It is multiple Grade 1 winning rider, Harry Cobden. Harry, welcome back to the show.
Good to be back on, Emmet. Good to be back on.
How does it feel to be 14 clear with the championship really hotting up?
Probably sounds silly, but I'd say it probably hasn't sunk in really. We're taking it day by day, and we've had the most tremendous season, and I'm just thinking I need to stay injury free and hopefully keep it all going.
Was it always your intention this season to go for it, to try and be champion jockey?
I think probably sort of the first week of this season, I probably set my stall out, and Sam Strong, my agent, did a fantastic job from the word go, really. And I suppose, we've worked pretty hard and made some good new contacts, and I've ridden for some tremendous owners and trainers along the way. And to be honest, although it's been quite hard work, I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, it's a big rivalry between yourself and Sean, but there is a unique thing about racing. You're competing with one another on the racetrack every single day, and yet there's a brotherhood. There's a real camaraderie in the weighing room, and clearly a lot of mutual respect between both of you. Oh, most definitely. And I suppose we've sat next to each other for the last probably 7 or 8 years now, and we both started in Paul Nicholls' together, and we've always been good mates. And it's just, it's actually quite nice to have a good little battle with someone you get on with really well. I suppose it'd be different if we didn't like each other. It'd be, we'd probably be frowning and giving a few digs if we were sort of. One was riding winners, but at the same time, if he rides a winner, I'm not disappointed. I'm just trying to get one back, and it's been great. And his sportsmanship has been extremely professional right the way through, and it's good that we're mates as well. Your lowest riding weight is 10 stone 2. Sean is the same. Sean has ridden 654 horses. You've ridden 670. Harry Skelton, someone you're going to be going up against in the first race, has ridden 374. 670 rides. That's one hell of a commitment, Harry. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've never sort of ventured down this path before, being this busy, and it's I suppose this year I was a lot busier through the summer, and it hasn't really felt that we've had a sort of a break really. It's been pretty full on. We put lots of hours in, and there's been plenty of late nights. So it's been a lot of effort. But you need a good team around you. I try and always have someone there to drive me to the races, and obviously going back to Sam Strong, it's key to have a good agent and someone that's working on your behalf. And I'm very lucky. I'm surrounded by good people. Irrespective of how it goes, is this something you would go for again, or is this the one and only season you want to go for it? I don't know. I'm not sure. The thing is, this year I've obviously had a real good go at the championship, and I've gained a lot of good new contacts, and it nearly seems a little bit silly in one respect to turn down all of the good contacts I've made this year. So I think I'm definitely going to keep riding. I'll probably most definitely ride a lot more next year. I'll set out to have a good go, and I think we'll just be realistic. If I've got a chance in October of trying to win it again, then I think I'd most definitely give it a good crack. But if Sean's a mile clear, then I think I'll be a little bit more realistic and probably stick to the quality over the quantity. But I'm certainly not saying I'm not going to have a go. This is something that's kind of gone a little bit quieter in the last few months. But have the new whip rules hindered your ability? I mean, obviously they haven't really, because you're leading the Jockeys Championship by 14. But have they been a very awkward thing to try to get your head around as to how you approach each race? Well, the over shoulder height was obviously the bit that caught me out, because I almost brought my pro cush or whip or whatever you want to call it sort of around my helmet, and I suppose I had a sort of a slightly unique style of using the whip, but in terms of the numbers aren't an issue at all. I don't think I've had an offence of where I've gone over this year, and I think I'm probably one of the jockeys. Well, a number of us now. We only use the whip as sort of a last minute persuader, if you know what I mean. And I don't think the numbers are an issue. I think it works well. Racing looks probably better for it. I think 7 is the perfect number, just because you're not abusing the whip, but at the same time you've got enough smacks on the way around. 7 smacks in a Grand National over just over 4 miles isn't really that many, is it? So I think we're certainly riding better for it.
It's just really interesting that you've rarely, if ever, have fallen foul of the whip rule breaches. And there are obviously some jockeys who haven't been able to make that proper adjustment yet. And I understand that. I've spoken to jockeys who say this idea of learn to count just doesn't work for them because they ride on feel. It's very natural to them. And they feel like that's been taken away from them. But then you look at someone like yourself and you're thriving under the new rules.
Yeah, and I think the longer the rule is established, the better we're going to be. New jockeys coming in know that the whip rules are 7, so they're automatically going to start riding with that in their mind. It's probably a little bit harder for the older lads to adjust because they were just so used to using it sort of 8 times, and there aren't really many jockeys that are falling foul to the rule because they're hitting the horse 9 or 10 times. They're only sort of going 1 over, and a 4-day penalty does seem harsh for that, but at the end of the day, the rules are rules, and we've got to stay within them.
It's not just you who are going for a championship. Paul is trying to defend his trainer's championship. He's obviously a multiple champion trainer. Currently, it's his former protege, Dan Skelton, who leads the way. He's got a 20 grand lead. And that pesky Willie Mullins is coming up behind with a lot of firepower to go to Aintree with this week. How does that feel that you're on a fight on 2 fronts? Because you're going to have a massive say in Paul being champion trainer.
It's obviously very, very important. I've got to make sure that, the next 3 days we're not going to leave anything behind, and we've got to try and get as much prize money as we can. I think this 3 days is probably going to be probably the biggest 3 days of the championship decider between Paul and Dan anyway, and look, Willie's got a strong hand in the national as well, so if he wins the national, then obviously he's a major player and he's going to throw everything at it to try and win. So we just need to stay consistent. From my perspective, I can't let any go. We've got to get the job done right, and hopefully we'll have a good 3 days ahead of us.
Well, let's talk about your horses for the 3 days. The Close Brother Manifesto's Novices Chase kicked things off, and the horse who was second to Grey Dawning at the Cheltenham Festival rematches with him. Ilete Tom, third in the Arkle, will be the new form line to take you on. But Ginny's Destiny beat Grey Dawning earlier in the campaign, was a brilliant winner of a competitive novice handicap chase at the Cheltenham on Trials Day. Can you make up that 2-length difference from the festival, though?
I think everything went really well for both of us right the way around. Obviously, Grey Dawning jumped brilliantly, and so did we. The only fence I got a little bit tight to was the second last, and Grey Dawning might have possibly just jumped it a little bit quicker and slicker than us. But looking back, I think the best horse probably won on the day. I think there's not a great deal between those 2 horses at all. The only thing is they both did have hard races at Cheltenham, so we've just got to make sure that we turn up and we're in as good as form as we can be. I think the difference between those 2 horses would be the jumping. If we jump slicker than him, then we might get the upper hand. I think the track will suit us. We know he goes in any ground. So look, I think it's a very competitive little race, and we've certainly got a big chance.
Second race is the Boodle's Anniversary 4-year-old juvenile hurdle. You're going to be on Kalif Du Berlais. He's unbeaten in 3 starts. He should love this ground. He's a winner on heavy ground in a juvenile hurdle there, and he was pretty good. It was hard work, but in the end I thought he was quite good in the Adonis juvenile hurdle. Paul has talked about him as being a potential Gold Cup horse. Is that how you see him, and how do you think he'll fare?
Well, I mean, he's obviously got to step up a lot, but he wouldn't be your typical juvenile. He's 16.3, big, strong, scopy horse. And I must admit, I schooled him this week, and he felt to me as though he didn't improve considerably since his last run. He's a horse that takes his work very well. Obviously, Sir Gino's the horse to beat in the race. He looks like he's full of speed, so I think the ground softening has probably helped us, because I'm praying it's going to slow him down a little bit and take a bit of class out of him. But they're two very, very good horses, and whatever this lad does this year, he will improve massively for a fence in time, and he's a horse that we like a lot.
Bravemansgame didn't quite happen for him in the Gold Cup. He was beaten 19 lengths in the end, and he gets first-time cheek pieces. I don't think he's been the same horse since last year's Gold Cup. That was a massive run behind Galopin Des Champs, but he has run very well in defeat, including in the King George behind Hewick.
Yeah, plenty went wrong in the King George as well. I thought his first run was very good. He just wasn't probably fit enough, and the run at Haydock was obviously a bit of a disaster because I think he probably felt the effects of Wetherby. It was only a month between that run and Haydock, so I think we probably underestimated how hard a race he had at Wetherby just because he probably wasn't properly wound up. I was delighted with his King George run considering what went wrong on the way round, and I just thought the soft, heavy ground in the Gold Cup probably took the class out of him. Obviously, we're going to get proper soft ground on Thursday, which is a concern. Yeah, look, he's going in there in very good form. I think the cheek pieces will help him out a little bit. Clan de Zobo obviously went there a few years back, first time cheek pieces and absolutely bolted up. So we're half hoping and praying that that's going to do the same with Bravemansgame. But it's certainly a good race, and he's got to be on top form.
And I'd be remiss not to ask you about your ride in the Mare's Bumper at Jubilee Alpha. She's bred to be a really nice prospect, and she was good at Wincanton when well backed the other day.
Yeah, lovely mare. She seems very solid at home. She's very straightforward, goes nicely. Obviously, we don't know how good she is, but she's got to step up, and I think she's more than entitled to run in this race. She certainly shows us plenty. And the one thing I loved about her at Wincanton is I couldn't pull her up. She galloped right through the line. So we're probably stepping into the unknown, but she deserves a chance in a race like this.
Just briefly on that, for those who are new to racing, when you can't pull up a horse, or at least when it's a struggle to at the end of a race, that's a really good sign. But why?
I don't know. It just feels like they've got a bit left in the locker, and they've obviously enjoyed the experience. And every horse that I've struggled to pull up at the end of a race, they normally go and run even better second time. So I think it's always a good sign.
Sam Crow used to stop very quickly at the end of a race, and Ruby Walsh was highlighting that's not a good sign, and it turned out he was absolutely right. So bear that in mind with horses that you're seeing on the track in the future. Second race on the Friday. I don't think Ella McNeil would be too happy if I didn't ask you about Inthewaterside. And I think some might have been disappointed with him being beaten the other day, but Pic Rock went on to run a really big race in a handicap hurdle on his next start. And I still think there's a bit of scope for improvement there off 129.
Yeah, I love this horse. He's got so much raw and natural ability. Every time he's ran, he's done something wrong. You know, first time out he was too keen, and a couple of occasions he might not have jumped as slickly as he could. And last time at Ascot, he sort of ran his race in the paddock beforehand. He was white with sweat and didn't really give himself much chance. And he was probably entitled to stop when he jumped the third last hurdle, but he kept galloping. And I think that's just pure abilities. I think he's very well handicapped off his mark. A big field, fast run handicap like this should suit him. I think it'll either make him or break him. You know, he'll either thrive or he'll probably run his race beforehand. But he's a horse with so much ability, and we won't see the best of him until he jumps fences. But it wouldn't surprise me if he went and ran a mighty race in this, you know.
It's Inthewaterside. I really fancy him in the 220, the handicap hurdle, the William Hill handicap hurdle. Pictori, the defending champion, goes again in the Melling Chase. Won a Grade 1 last time out, although I think some of your rival jockeys weren't seen to best effect that day. But take nothing away from him. He's a terrific racehorse, and he got that Grade 1 win at Aintree last year. Can he do it again?
Yeah, I love this horse. He always runs his race, and he's Mr. Consistent. I think he could probably do it with a slightly sounder surface, but he handled the track well last year, and it was fairly soft as well. So he's obviously a course and distance winner coming back to regain his crown. And he's just, one of those real likeable horses that always runs his race. So, look, it's a very competitive race. John Bond's probably the one to beat, but he's on a little bit of a recovery mission. And we know with one thing for sure with Pic D'Orhy, you wouldn't want to underestimate him, because he will put his best foot forward.
Yeah, very much so. There's nothing wrong with that defeat to Banbridge, and he's coming in fresh against horses who had hard races at Cheltenham, and Nicky Henderson, we still don't know what's going on with the stable for him. Maybe they'll all start banging in at Aintree this week, but it's been a rough old time for him. Still feel very sorry for him about that. One of the big betting races of the week is the Topham. You're going to be on board Kandoo Kid.
Yeah, he's actually been away and scored nicely over some national fences in Lambourne. We're very pleased with him. The ground is a slight issue. I didn't think he'd handle softer ground, but it was fairly soft when he ran at Newbury last time in the good handicap there a few months ago. He's had a good prep for the race. We actually made the plan straight after there to come straight for the Topham. So very much looking forward to him. He's an improving type that goes really well. So I just think if he took another step forward, he'd be right in the mix.
And Monmiral did us a massive favour in the Pretemps. Thank you for that, Harry. Thank you very much. You saved Cheltenham. Terrific ride. Great response from the horse on the day as well. He came home like an absolute train. That was off a mark of 138. I think there's still some scope here off 144.
I thought it was a great run. To be honest, I couldn't have him beforehand, and I wasn't really sure he had much chance, really. But he surprised me, and with the circuit to go, there was only one horse behind me, but he seemed to have enjoyed passing horses on their way around. I thought the blinkers probably made the difference. He just felt like a different horse in them. I think Paul probably had him absolutely spot on the day. So great training performance, and I don't think the £6 could stop him really. If he's in the same form, he'll take a lot of beating.
Yeah, I was thinking the same as well. I'm surprised he's the price he is, but we'll see if that holds up, shall we? Speaking of Sir Alex Ferguson horses, the wraps will be taken off the most expensive horse ever bought at public auction in Caldwell Potter, and he's a fascinating runner for you. Stepped up to 2 mile 4 for the Turner's Mersey Novice Hurdle, the Grade 1 on the Saturday, on Grand National Day. Last time we saw him was in Grade 1 company over 2 miles, where he beat Predator's Gold. That was his last run for Gordon Elliott. How do you feel he'll cope with this step up in distance?
I think he probably wants it. He doesn't do anything fast at home anyway. He jumps very well. He seems very, very straightforward, and he's a really likeable type to have around the place. His work wouldn't blow you away. He's very workmanlike. He sort of just goes one gallop and stays going. Which I think is what you want. He looks to me like he'll handle the ground well. Really looking forward to getting my leg over him, and hopefully he can go and do his owners justice.
Has he settled in well for Paul, and how difficult is it to get a horse from another trainer who has a certain regime and a certain system they use, and then in the middle of a season be switched to another trainer in a different country?
Well, obviously it's not ideal, but this horse is very straightforward. As far as I'm aware, he eats, sleeps, and he's very relaxed in his box. So I think that's always a positive. He doesn't seem a highly strung horse at all. Look, we're hoping that he's going to go and run a massive race. I mean, he's showing good signs at home, so I'd be disappointed if he didn't run well.
And the big one, the Grand National. You're going to ride former winner Noble Yeats, a horse that Sean was riding last year. You're on board this year. It's worked out really, really well in the Cleve Hurdle when he came home brilliantly to beat Paisley Park. It's a good run behind Tihupu in the Stayers Hurdle, and I'm sure it will have put him spot on for this race. How are you feeling about his chances, and can he do what Tiger Roll did? Not win back-to-back, but win a second Grand National.
Well, wouldn't it be lovely? I didn't think the Stayers Hurdle was run to suit him at all. I thought we went too slow and sort of sprinted from the top of the hill, and I probably used him up going to the second last. But he's one of those horses that I'm actually quite glad I've ridden him a couple of times now, just because I know what he's like. He's slightly tricky horse to ride. Actually, he's a little bit behind the bridle, and you had to just cajole him along. And I watched Sean ride him in the National last year, and I think the only place he travelled was to the start. I certainly have my work cut out, but look, he's a fantastic ride to get. I'm really looking forward to him, and I just hope I can keep him close enough on the way around, so we don't have a mammoth task to make up loads of ground from sort of 3/4 of the way through the race. But it's a privilege to ride him, and I'm very much looking forward to it.
Just on the pace of the Stayers Hurdle, Aidan Coleman and Harry Fry both got severely criticised for daring to express an opinion. As you know, we shouldn't be expressing opinions, Harry. Their opinion being that sometimes British racing, British horses go off too fast in front early in races, and that means that when the Irish horses come over, where Irish racing is more run for sprint finishes. They go slow early, then it turns into a sprint. That is then suiting the Irish horses. They're lasting longer. Now, that's their theory. That's their opinion. It's a very condensed version of that. I don't really have a problem with it. But the fact that the Stayers hurdle was run so differently to the Kalif hurdle, do you think that there is merit to what Harry and Aidan were both saying?
I think the reason why we don't win as many races as they do is because our horses probably aren't fast enough.
That's a more simplistic explanation, in fact.
I think we probably look at it too much and potentially overcomplicate the situation. I think the bottom thing is that the majority of the good horses are trained in Ireland at the moment, and the pendulum will swing at some point. I'm sure it will change, and we'll get a few better ones in time. Look, we've got lots of quality in our yard, but Willie Mullins obviously buys more horses than probably most people in Ireland, so I think that's probably why they train more winners and have I suppose more success at Cheltenham. The only thing I would add to that as well, I wouldn't solely blame the jockeys, the English jockeys, for that, just because I'd say 90% of them are only doing what their trainer or owner has asked, and I'm sure there are a few people lining a few horses up that would rather take a lead, but their trainers would probably not use them again if they didn't do as they were told. So I'm not sure the jockeys are solely to blame. Yeah,
that's a very good point as well, because you can look at a decision a jockey makes in a race in real time and think, what were you doing? But if that jockey has been told in the days leading up to the race and in the parade ring beforehand, then you have to ride to instructions. Unless you're riding for someone like Paul and you're in a position like you are, where you're one of the most respected jockeys in the business and you will be trusted to make your decision. But if a jockey is told, I want you to do this specific thing, then that's what they have to do.
You got to do it.
Looking at the current going on the Jockey Club website, it's all yellow and orange, which is for soft and heavy. No green of any kind, which is for good to soft. It's going to be testing conditions. A weight of 11 stone 11 for Noble Yeats. How do you feel about that for him and what is going to be at least soft and possibly soft heavy ground?
Well, if I'm absolutely honest, I couldn't work out whether it's going to help or hinder them, because I'm thinking we might go slower, but at the same time, I saw an interview with Emmet Mullins the other day saying that Noble Yeats would probably prefer a bit of better ground. So I'm to be honest, I'm not really sure whether he'll really struggle in it, or maybe he might travel a little bit better because they're going slower, but due to the conditions. So I'm slightly open-minded on that.
And given the fact that he has the experience, so we were talking about this the other day, actually, it turns out that most winners of the race, 13 of the last 15, were running in the race for the first time. But there are plenty of horses who have run very well in it and then come back and placed again. The fact that he has the experience of Aintree obviously gives you a massive advantage as well.
Oh, I think so. And, even last year, over the first sort of 3 or 4, he was a little bit sticky, but the further he went, the better he jumped. And, he does look pretty rock solid to me.
Is he the one you're looking forward to riding most over the next 3 days?
I think he's certainly the horse I'm most looking forward to on Saturday, anyway.
Which means, who is the horse you're most looking forward to riding over the next 3 days?
Well, every horse I'm riding would have a chance, and I love riding Ginny's Destiny. Kalif Du Berlais could be anything. Bravemansgame, well, he's probably one of my favourite horses that I've ever ridden. And Pic D'Orhy as well, he's been a tremendous horse for all involved. I must say, I'm probably actually most excited to ride Caldwell Potter, just because he's sort of the new talking horse in the yard. So, I'm really excited to ride, all of them. And the National's a great race. So, look, we've got a tremendous book of rides. It'd be hard to put a finger on which one I'm most excited to ride,
It's going to be a great 3 days racing. Really looking forward to covering it and really looking forward to seeing how you get on. Harry, thank you so much for your time and your insight. Best of luck for the Aintree Grand National Festival.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Final Furlong podcast. If you like this episode, a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel would be much appreciated. And if you liked this, you will love Racing Live on TalkSport 2. Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 1 p.m. We cover all the big racing stories and bring you live racing, hence the name. Racing Live on TalkSport 2. We're covering all 3 days of the Aintree Grand National Festival, so come along and join us. Lizzie Kelly, Rupert Bell, Lee McKenzie, Tony McCormick and myself, and some big name guests as well. Racing Live on TalkSport 2. And we'll have more content for you on the Final Furlong podcast very soon. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Look after yourself and each other. God bless.